Meow. How's it going, guys? Unnamed YouTube channel, I really don't know. This is my review on the MP9 TKI4. I mean, other than being a nitro buggy, it's probably one of the better buggies out there. I mean, it's definitely quite a considerable amount of fuel nats and, roar officiated races and stuff like that. I'm just going to bring you into detail on what I've had troubles on it in the past and stuff that I've had troubles on it now. There really isn't, too many troubles, just, random complaints here and there. I think one of the biggest things that I have, sort of a complaint about is the shock bottoms. Not the shock bottoms, but the shock shafts that actually hold the shock bottoms in, like right here. I know I have the TKI3 ones on here, but those are just spares. If they do come out, or if you don't get them, lined up correctly, they'll just pop out. That's one of the things that I've, had troubles with in the past. And also the, one other issue I've had is with the connection in between the drive shaft and the pinion for the gear diff. So whenever it does come undone, you have to take the entire rear end apart in order to do a repinch on it. So what that requires is you loosen, if this does loosen up, and you can feel a considerable, not considerable, but any sort of wiggle in between this little flared piece here in the back and the pinion. That means you have to take off the back diff cover and back aluminum bits here in order to get to it, and you actually have to take the gear diff out and press up against there and then retighten it. Another thing is if you're buying one of these used, I think the first thing that you need to do is, if it doesn't have an engine and it's your first time buying one of these, just consider looking up the alley of, just any better engine than, say, something that's like $150, $200, because like the Samurais and anything OS based, it's going to last you a lot longer than a Navarasi that's $150, or an OS based product that is $150. Mainly because the quality just isn't there. I mean, you definitely get what you pay for in that case. I tend to lean more towards OS because of just the track record that they've had. I mean, there are more sponsored drivers with OS sponsorships than any other brand. I mean, it couldn't just be that they're handing out sponsorships left and right. It means that they're actually, reasonably good motors. And the ProTech engines, which is the Samurai, run a 321B OS speed block, and it's a considerably good engine. I have a Buku clutch hookup to it with a Kyosho vented bell clutch. The good thing about a vented bell clutch is that if you're running along main or something like that, it keeps the your power band from slipping, as in the clutch. It doesn't overheat and then starts slipping because it's overheated. It actually gets a well vented, I wouldn't say clean, but just to sort of cool it down, make it more responsive at the longer mains, like say a 45-minute to an hour-long main. You don't want your clutch shoes overheating and have a huge problem. Another thing that I would add in is, one of the things I seem to have troubles with is the diff spacing, like shimming a diff. I guess just watch instructional guides on how to do it, especially the rear diff, mainly because right here, if you don't get it into the lip, it's kind of hard. I've had some pretty bad experiences. I've missed a couple of races due to that, and it's just a dumb thing that you can fix. I mean, it's nothing against the car, it's hard to shim any diff. And if you're having troubles and it's your first time doing this, just, if you're at your local track, ask one of the sponsored guys, or one of the more, I wouldn't say intellects, or one of the more knowledgeable guys at the track that knows what they're doing. So, one of the things that I've seen on the K car in particular is for higher pack clay tracks like Hobbytown, and I'm just trying to think of some other place, but like some of the super high pack tracks, like Hobbytown or Hobbyplex, if you've never been there, you might want to run a heavier spring in the front due to its very high traction. If you're running something like a Typo or a Positron, you might want to think of something that's obviously a little heavier in the front, have it be a little more reactive through the corners, and on more of a lonelier track like Fastlane, you can put orange springs in the back in order to absorb some of the bumps better, or you can even put orange springs all the way around and have it be really, really good. One of the things that I've noticed is there's really almost no need for the droop screws in the back. In the front, yeah, they're definitely needed, but in the back, no. And that brings me to another thing. I think you probably want to change out your brake pads seasonally, if not before a huge event, something like that, because with the normal steel ones, they'll like to wear away and just wear away at a consistent rate, whereas if you have the cork ones, or not cork, but it's a brown material, not really sure what it is. I'm pretty sure it's something, but those are supposedly they wear down a lot quicker than the generic steel ones. And as far as the braking system goes, the Jared Tebow fuel line tricks, yes, those do help quite a bit, and they have more braking ability,